Happening now, the search for a killer in Providence, Rhode Island is now day 6 with no suspect in custody. Police are leaning on the community for a break in the Brown University shooting that left 2 students dead and 9 wounded. Investigators are looking for anyone who crossed paths with this person of interest in the case. A friend of one victim shared this message he received from him before the shooting. Mohammed Aziz Umar Zokab said he got dragged into an econ review class by another friend, even though he wasn't taking the course. Shooting happened in that classroom just a short time later. CNN's Michael Yoshida is in Providence. Michael, the police, what more help from the public? What are they saying?
Good morning, Pamela. The memorials continue to grow here at Brown University as the police message remains one of patience and asks and pleas from the public for help as this investigation moves into its 6th day. As you mentioned, the effort's really pushing out beyond the campus area. Police putting out this map showing just how expansive this work is. It shows the areas where this person of interest was in the hours before the shooting as well as right after, and also the areas within broader Providence that they're now asking homeowners, other individuals to check surveillance cameras on their homes, on their buildings, also maybe on their vehicles. They may have caught something inadvertently showing this person of interest. We also have learned from investigators that they have physical and DNA evidence from the crime scene. They've had no hits or matches yet, but that could obviously be crucial in tying any person of interest or someone else to the crime scene. Police also putting out an image and asking for the help identifying someone who may have crossed paths with this person of interest, may have noticed something, seen something. And also, curiously enough, we were learning that school officials say it's taking a little longer than you might expect to figure out who all was in that classroom where this shooting happened. Saying it was a voluntary study session. There was no registry or check-in of who needed to be there. So they're still working to figure out who all was at that scene when this shooting happened. Still, many questions remain in this community as this investigation moves forward. Questions about the amount of surveillance cameras in the area where this shooting happened, and also, of course, the pace of this investigation and tracking down the person responsible. Many wondering just how close police are or are not to finding this individual. Pamela?
Yeah, and as this manhunt continues, everyone there is on edge. Michael Yoshida, thank you so much. For more now on the manhunt, I want to bring in Mary Ellen O'Toole. She is a former FBI special agent and profiler. So what do you think? I mean, you heard Michael just bring up, no one really knows how close police are or not to actually finding a suspect. What are the chances after 6 days?
Well, I think the chances of identifying him and then ultimately arresting him are really quite good. And I say that because investigators have made it pretty clear that they do have forensic evidence, and more specifically, they likely have DNA. And I think that is like the gold standard for forensic science. So with that, ultimately, they can identify this offender.
But what about if this offender wasn't already in the system for a prior crime? How does the DNA help in this investigation?
It's a great question because we rely on a system called CODIS, an acronym for the DNA system used by the FBI and all of law enforcement. If that person is not in CODIS, then what they'll do is probably default to forensic genetic genealogy. So they can go back and take a look at what they have right now, unknown to them, but they have DNA, and then go back and forensically through, again, genetic genealogy and identify a relative or a prospective relative. So that's another way that they could do it.
Well, police released that map of the suspect's movements before and after the shooting. I think we have the map to show. What's the purpose of that?
Well, they really want to get the public to go back on the day of the shooting and think about where they were in regards to that map and the locations on that map. A lot of people will listen to the news reports and dismiss them, and that's just common. So they want to get people to think about, could you possibly have crossed paths and not thought about it? And that's important because now this person stands out to us. But back on Saturday, If you were driving around, you probably looked at this individual and were thinking about your Christmas list. I mean, he didn't draw that much attention.
Hmm.
So they really have to get people to think about, yeah, maybe I did see him in the coffee shop, or yes, maybe I did see him walking down the street. He did have that kind of fanny pack around his neck. So that's what they're trying to do. But I think there's one more reason that that's really important, and I think they're really doing a good job on this. We used to recommend it in the FBI all the time. Keep the pressure on this offender. Keep the pressure on him, so he doesn't know how close they're getting or what they've discovered next. As much pressure as you can keep on the offender, and he is following this case in the media. He could be watching this
I was going to ask
interview
that.
right
Yeah.
now. Yeah, he could be watching it right now because he wants to know not only how close are they to me, but frankly, a lot of these offenders enjoy hearing about how they got away with it and how good they are, at least in their
Hmm.
at least in their own mind. And so keeping the pressure on him this way with these reports going out constantly. So basically, you've got not only law enforcement, but you've got the whole community in his mind looking for him. So that's important.
What do you make of the video? We're showing some screen grabs from the video, but he's pacing back and forth in front of the camera. And I wonder what you thought about that and what the thinking could have been.
Yeah, I saw that video and something made him a little nervous. Something concerned him.
Hmm.
And the video shows him, I believe, without the fanny pack on. And
Hmm.
if that is in fact true, he may have been worried about getting access, going to wherever it was and getting access to his firearm. But something made him nervous. Was it somebody might have seen him that he recognized, or there was a possibility that there was some interference and he couldn't have accessed the gun at the point where he wanted to access it. But whatever that is,
Hmm.
hopefully we'll learn later once he's arrested. But yeah, it does look like something made him nervous.
And I'm wondering, as someone who profiles all kinds of people who have committed crimes, he must presumably know there are cameras around that could be capturing him even in that moment where he's pacing back and forth. How often is it that a suspect would change maybe the way they walk or do things, knowing that law enforcement would rely on video footage like this to try to track them down?
Well, again, great questions. I don't think this person is particularly camera savvy. But
Mm.
to your point about um, can someone change their gait or can they change something about them? They can temporarily, but it is really difficult when you think about it. Just go out on the sidewalk right now and try to change everything about yourself: the way you walk, the way you hold yourself, the way your arms swing. I mean, it would become so disruptive, you probably couldn't move forward. So, to be able to do that over an extended period of time so you look like somebody that you're not is probably pretty difficult. And it looks like his movements were more natural than they were unnatural. I'm not sure he didn't have a ballistic vest under his
Hmm.
sweatshirt simply because of the way he was walking in such an erect fashion, and those vests can make you walk in a very erect way because they're because of
Hmm.
all the hard padding in them. But I think other than that, I think he seemed to be walking fairly naturally until he ran. Something provoked that. Until he turned around
Hmm.
and looked around and something provoked that. But I think he seemed to be pretty natural. And I think sometimes we watch these movies too often because we think that these offenders are a lot more thoughtful and deliberate than what they really are. So I think that after a period of time, even though they may go into an event and try to disguise who they are, they're not as
Hmm.
savvy as what we give them credit for.
Like it was it the Usual Suspect with Kevin Spacey, the one where at the end, he changes something like that. People, you're right, they may give more credit. They see actors in movies playing the role, but as a profiler, you know firsthand that perhaps these people who actually commit crimes in the real world are not so sophisticated. Mary Ellen O'Toole, thank you so much. Appreciate your time. Always fascinating to talk to you.